Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 361, and today we're going to be doing battle with Darius Gnar. You may want to call it the Bone Club deck. And so, the Darius Gnar Bone Club deck, this is something that, for the most part, I want to think about this in the context of best of three. The Ruthless Rumbles are out right now. The Runeterra Open is going to be in the next weekend, not a couple days from now, but about 10 days from now or so. And so I'm trying to get in this mindset of the best of threes a little bit. And the current top dog of the meta is the Tristana decks, the Tristana prize fight style decks. And this is a deck you can use to really attack what their strategy is good at. And so the Tristana deck, it's basically a kind of control combo deck, if you will. I know it feels like it's an aggro deck because it puts a lot of units on the board, but that's not really what it does. I think you can compare the Tristana decks better to, say, a Nora deck than you could to the likes of an aggro deck. Just they're looking to flood the board with these small and crappy kind of units. They'll happily trade away their units with yours as long as it's in the name of preventing damage. And then around turn 7 or turn 8, they'll do some kind of big explosive damage blow up to your face, whether or not that is a gigantic Tristana or a bunch of prize fights on a Bandle Gunner, or in the case of Nora, using like Vagar to just throw stuff at your face. They all have that kind of similar strategy. And Darius Gnar is good at attacking that strategy in the sense that if we attack with a loyal Badger Bear, the opponent blocks it, doesn't take any damage, day is done. But if we attack the opponent with a Tusk Speaker, they block it with a 2-1, we get a trade, and we also get to punch in a couple of points of damage. And so you're able to kind of carry through and counteract that strategy that they're looking to present to you. This deck also functions pretty reasonably against the challenger-based decks, as you used to see with something like Scouts. And so if you want to think of a Scouts-based game plan, they attack your 2-1 with a Petricite Broadwing, they kill the 2-1, the Broadwing survives with 1 health, then the Broadwing gets to attack again, take down a 1 health unit, and then they just developed a nice 2-for-1. But if we're able to just attack with these giant units into their board, the decks that just kind of go wide with challengers aren't really able to stop your plan, since you're still dealing the damage even though the combats aren't being won. And so that's what I'm mainly interested in here. I think this is going to be a good best of three choice in the upcoming days. But the second kind of piece to the puzzle here, as we do approach this format of best of three in this format of the Runeterra Open, is I like having access to Freylord for the Frostbites. And so the ways that you tend to find to, again, counter that Tristana strategy are with the big overwhelms. You still have a lot of decks like Samira Varus, a lot of decks with Pantheon, a lot of decks with Alawi, and having access to some way to stop a singular giant unit is very favorable right now. And so if you have access to cards like Three Sisters for either the Flash Freeze or the Entomb, even cards like Decisive Maneuvers to be used defensively as a stun, you get these great ways to stop a big game-closing Alawi attack and then give you that opportunity to still win the game. And so with those kind of two concepts in mind, being good against both the go-wide board stall decks and being good against the Bruiser, Brawler, OTK style decks, it has me pretty interested in Darius Gnar. And so outside of just the kind of global concept that I'm looking to pull off here, the overwhelms with the single target removal, the thing I like to call out with a lot of decks these days, and I think that has probably been missed in this game over the course of time, is just playing a bunch of Darken. And that's what we're looking to have as kind of my addition to the deck, as we're looking to include the Darken Ballista. I'm kind of starting to lean that we should probably just be playing 3 Ballistas and 2 Bone Clubs and not the other way around, but I want to get in some more reps before I really kind of come out and make that decision. This really reminds me of the times I was kind of big I was big in Magic back when Lorwyn came out. Lorwyn was the set to where Planeswalkers were first released. People didn't really understand how powerful the quote-unquote bad Planeswalkers like Garruk and Liliana actually were. Until, like 6 months, a year down the road, once they really got in a lot of reps with those cards, and it turns out they were all exceptionally strong, and they all should have been seeing play as they were released. And I feel like we're kind of in that stage in Runeterra right now, as to where, with at least me personally, I feel like you should just be jamming these equipment in every single deck, and I want all of my decks to have access to the Darken package. And so we aren't including all of it. I do really like the the Darkened Shield, whatever the whatever the Freylord one happens to be called. But I don't think it really fits in this deck very well. But I think the Darkened Ballista does fit in fantastically, especially if we consider some of these curves to where you may play a Crimson Pigeon into a Ruthless Raider into a Tusk Speaker. You still have that 1 mana left over. Being able to equip the Darkened Ballista and then carry on with your curve is quite powerful. And then it still ties into the strategy that we're trying to pull off and being a gigantic overwhelm unit on the flip side. And so everything about it I'm really happy about. And that's our big inclusion and change to the deck. And so, with that out of the way, let's go ahead, jump on into battle, get the NBA playoffs going out here. Dunk Master Darius ready to come in, slam some axes onto some nuggets, onto some faces. Feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. My boy LeBron's out there winning some games. See if my boy Darius can't get out here and win some games too. Ooh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so what do we got? Up against some Alawi. Sounds good to me. All right, so we got a 1-drop and we're on the odds, so we can hang on to this Iron Ballista. You could like minorly consider hanging on to this Bone Club because you can just drop it onto Crimson Pigeon onto turn 3, but I'm not super happy about that. I think I'm going to stick with this 1-drop, try to mulligan for a 2, and then if we miss the 2, we still have the 3, and we've got the total package here. And so I'm going to pivot just a little bit. I'm going to lead off with this Legion Saboteur just because it deals more damage here, right? We can play a Crimson Pigeon, nothing to support it, so it's only going to deal 2 damage, or we can play the Legion Saboteur, get that 3 points of damage in, and then we should still be able to get these Crimson Pigeons attacking on turn 3 and getting leveled up a little bit. So beautiful space here right now. Look at that. We got the pickup with the Darkened Ballista, and this is exactly what I was talking about with the Ballista as being a nice early game card in the sense that we can play the Pigeon, and the Ballista now, or if you just imagine, say we had like Iron Ballista and 3 Sisters, and then this Crimson Pigeon was another 2-drop, and now we get to add a 2-drop and the Ballista to the board. Just very powerful stuff. So that was a pretty good turn for us on the opponent's side of the board. They had the Tentacle on board, but didn't want to attack it into our 3-attack unit, losing the Tentacle with the Eye of God attached to it. So that all turned out pretty nice for us. Bit of a bummer with the Cataclysm coming through. It's going to grow to a 4/4 and kill our dude, but he's going to either get absolutely reamed for 11 damage here, or he's going to lose his Tentacle at the end of the day. Both outcomes are pretty decent for us. Put the equipment onto our Overwhelm unit. All right, not bad, not bad. All of our units kill his units, or he gets completely domed. Now, the only thing that could be a little bit of downside for putting the equipment on our Overwhelm unit is if we want to come down and then drop a Bone Club on the Overwhelm unit, right? You typically want the Bone Club hanging out on your Overwhelms, since that does let them deal that extra damage if they get blocked. Right? If we have a 1,000 Crimson Pigeon, it's still just going to deal 0 damage against a Lowy, but with the club attached to an Overwhelm, you get those extra points of damage in. So here, I don't think we need to play it. The Decisive Maneuver definitely means we don't need to play it since we can still just stun a blocker and deal a ton of Overwhelm damage here, but I wasn't going to take the time to play Bone Club this turn. It was just a little bit too slow. I don't think I like this stun. I think I should have actually stunned the Tentacle. That protects our Pigeon, and then we still get the Overwhelm damage from the Tusk Speaker. It feels like if he has an answer to our play there, if he has an answer to kill the unit or do something to the unit that Alawi was blocking, then we kind of like doubly fail. And so I think we did that a little poorly. We wanted him to be in the spot to, well, maybe that's okay. It's like we end up losing out on the Tentacle a little bit there, but it was odd. All right, though, a different flavor of Teemo. We got Teemo Tristana up here. We've kind of touched on this deck a little bit. I assume he's going to be playing a bunch of Cataclysms and board growing kind of cards. We touched on this deck a little bit in our channel earlier on. But here, I'm going to get rid of the Iron Ballista. We're on the even attacks this time. I'd really like to find a 2-drop to get on the board to just get in front of whatever he's able to do. All right, Teemo comes in. Bit of a bummer of a day for this Crimson Pigeon, having it just come in and potentially kill off the Legion Saboteur, but it's okay. We could actually consider just not playing the Pigeons this turn, but now that I've drawn the second one, we're definitely going to get them on board. Get the bonus on at least one.
You best believe I don't play.
Just doesn't feel like we want to be stalling to Bone Club, right? We're just gonna get blocked by a Bandle Commando. None of these units have Overwhelm. So I would suspect this 2-1 Crimson Pigeon is gonna fall. No way to really tell what's gonna happen to the Saboteur. I don't suspect he's just gonna get domed for all this damage. Like, I guess it's a valid concern for opponent when you have a good value unit like the Commando on board, but Teemo's pretty low value here. I would suspect at least Teemo's gonna come in and block something and maybe keep the Commando at home if you don't have a flood of plays for your upcoming turn, just to come in and generate that Owlcat. But we're definitely attacking. We're never not attacking here just because he has blockers. I'm not going to sit around and wait on a big unit or wait on a Bone Club. Interesting. Takes down the Saboteur in place of the Pigeon. Wonder if he already has like a removal spell in hand and is able to try and take down the Pigeon. But I mean, if we're able to get an attack in before he's able to play the spell, right? If he spends all of his mana this turn on a Bandle City Mayor, and then we get to open attack next turn, we can protect the Pigeon from a group shot or whatever. Let's cook him. We'll see what happens. We have a couple options here, right? We could think to just play the Darkened Ballista and then look to Bone Club next turn. But again, since opponent's going to be flooding the board with a bunch of crappy units, it just doesn't feel very good to me. And so I think we're going to be open attacking on this turn. We'll potentially get to Whirling Death down one of these units, and then we can start to look to Bone Club on the following turns. Yeah, I like getting this health boost right from the start. So, our units do die to the Hungry Owlcat, but it doesn't let him just group shot the unit down and then get a block on one of our other units.
Spraying and praying.
Spraying and praying. I'm going to go ahead and take this Whirling Death on the Bandle City Mayor. I want to punch in all of this damage with the Ballista, keep the Ballista, and then take that mana aspect away from them. Right? We don't have any other really good plays this turn, and so let's go ahead and spend it. Going to drop that off the Pigeon, though. It's a little bit tougher to kill than the Iron Ballista. Locked and loaded. What up, Tristana? Get that big count of allies up to this point. She's seen 2. Alright, well, glad we at least got the Bone Club here. This hand is not very good. I think we can keep passing. Like, he's going to attack this turn. There's definitely no way that he just doesn't attack. I am going to drop the Bone Club now, though. I don't want the group shot to come in and hit our Iron Ballista. And so we'll go ahead and protect our only good unit here.
Serving lead. Swiftly.
This is a bit unfortunate. I feel like this next turn's probably our critical turn to where we have to win the game. And I think we're going to be just a little bit short. I mean, we've got 14 damage of Overwhelm into probably 5 health if he wants to block with Tristana, 6 health if she gets to flip, and so I'm afraid we're going to fall just a little bit short. But if we get the Tristana off of the board, we might be able to secure victory. Then our boy turns up, saying, nice timing, Darius. Nice timing. We're fortunately just barely out of range of a Cataclysm here. You shouldn't be able to Cataclysm his Tristana onto our big units, our big Overwhelms. He could have a combat trick plus a Cataclysm, but this is very critical that our champions are at 7 health here. Ready to dunk him. Get him, Darius. Whenever that skin comes out, I'll just immediately buy it. I'm surprised they didn't get it for they didn't get it for playoff season. Maybe they'll drop the Dunk Master Darius before the finals turn up. Snap buy it, insta buy right there. You say just take my $7, right? You can have it. You can have it. All right, so the next question we're going to have here, instead of talking about skins, is we're going to have to worry about cards like Single Combat and whether or not we actually want to attack with this Crimson Pigeon. I think it's okay to attack with the Pigeon, but we want it to be way down to the right. I don't think it's going to, that it would be very worthwhile to have it shrink the unit and then risk them dying to Single Combat, but now that he's played Bandle Gunners, we're safe to just drop the Ballista, right? He's out of mana. He can't do anything crazy. This is just a math problem at this point, right? We've got 21 attack, and he's got 9 health. I did 21 minus 9. That should be over 10, right? I think it is. We know math isn't my strong suit, but I'm pretty certain this is lethal. I'm pretty certain. Pretty certain. Sit here, do a little bit of finger math. If it was 10 damage, 10 health that he had, we would be coming in for 11. He only has 9 health, so we should be doing 12. That's the way they teach kids to do math these days, right? Is that how the Common Core math works? I'm too old for that stuff. I don't get it. We just us boomers just look at that stuff now and say, "Oh, they do math wrong these days." They do math wrong. But seems like old Rusticle's LOR here did the math, determined they couldn't win, just inserted the phone in the toilet. I feel you. I feel you. GG. All right. On to the next one. Whew. So I did a bit of traveling here recently. I stayed on a boat. let me tell you about staying on a boat. And so I'm 6'2". I know that it can be tough to determine height just looking at someone on a picture on a YouTube video, but I'm 6'2", and standing in the bedroom in a boat, I would say the ceiling was like 6'6". I could like comfortably stand up, but I could definitely recognize that I should probably be like walking with my head hunched down. You know, it's like you hit your head on enough shit, you just kind of realize, oh, I gotta walk a little different out here. And then, like whenever you come up to a door frame, you definitely notice that you got to duck a little bit. But the thing didn't have like a shower in it. It had like a shower stall, I should say. It didn't have like a shower enclosure. It just had a bathtub with like the shower curtain around it. And so here, this attack sucks, but you just have to come in and deal the damage. This kind of counts as damage on a future turn, and we're never going to remove the Adaptron otherwise. But it's in the bathtub, and the bathtub is like lifted off the ground a little bit. Like, I don't know if this is just a standard feature of, if it's just a standard feature of boats, but like the floor was kind of slanted. I thought that might have been normal because like water, that would make sense. You want the water to run a certain way, and boats tend to be wet, and so that made like a little bit of sense to me. But since the bathtub was raised up off the ground, that meant that it was, just even closer to the ceiling. And I couldn't fully stand up. Like, if I just fully stood up, then my head hit the ceiling. And so the shower, like nozzle, what do you call that? The shower fixture was like here. It was like barely at titty level. And I was definitely suffering the whole time through. So weird though. Just definitely not used to it. I don't belong on a boat. I'm too big for that shit. It's like the airplane's manageable, right? You just take the aisle seat. People kind of accept that you're tall. You probably shouldn't be jammed into the window. You just find somebody that wants the window seat. You get the aisle seat. You become best friends. Just if it's going to be in a boat, though, I don't know, man. That's tough. That's tough. All right, back to this game though. We've been getting fully shut down here. His units have been quite good. I didn't attack on the last turn because we do have a pretty decent opportunity to just build up here with like maybe a Whirling Death. That doesn't feel like a good spot to just drop 2 Legion Saboteurs and have them get shut down by the Adaptron. So we do get that one little bit of a spot to kind of protect our board state, but the Shock Blast really shut us down for the round. Not looking good. None of our friends have Overwhelm here. We're spending a shitload of mana to do nothing. This is not going well for the home team. It's almost tempting to just draw Battle Fury onto this other Legion Saboteur just to spend our mana. Like, overbanking 4 on the round is a bit of a disaster. We got more bone clubs. We can we can definitely we can definitely hit hard next turn. But I think this fantastically shows off the idea with the deck and the problems that you run into, say, against Tristana, as to where if you load up the board with just a bunch of big dudes, you never get to deal any damage, right? When's the next time we're actually going to deal damage to this guy with our giant units? It's going to be like realistically 4 turns from now. We're going to attack here and then just have to attack again, and that's when we're able to finally be able to deal damage. Like, this game is pretty much done. Opponent should never lose from this spot. But it kind of shows it off perfectly in the sense that what we're trying to pull off, we're trying to attack with these big overwhelms and then negate the opponent from having these just like, oops, I block your guys forever kind of boards. I'm just gonna, oops, I block until turn 9 and then do some big super powerful play. But this Mammoth Shaman gets to flip, might be in a good space. Doesn't have to worry about the entirety of removals here. It's usually kind of up in the air how many cards like Vengeance the opposing decks are going to be playing, but he's got a chance to shine. I'm definitely going to Whirling Death this Forge Worker. I want to. I don't want the Mammoth Shaman to die to a Shock Blast. It's okay if one of these little Legion Saboteurs dies. They're only median stat because of the bone clubs, but having the big overwhelm unit's quite important. You gotta believe in the power of the Battle Fury. Am I right? that's how we're ultimately gonna win this one. We're gonna get that big Battle Fury on the last turn of the game. Opponent's gonna say, "Oh no, oh no." All right, the invoke is complete. Gonna play your last one. It's got one other cheap card from the Beyond the Infinite in there. Insight of the Ages. Wow, that was a pretty interesting sputtering song spinner in the sense that he got just the full value version of it to where he got the cycle, and then he got the invoke, and then he got the rando card from the karma spell off the last one. It's kind of wild how that worked out. Oh my gosh, are we gonna win this game? We definitely have a chance here. Definitely have a chance. We've got a unit, we've got a Bone Club, we've got a Battle Fury. We're just gonna go for it. Like, there's very real potential that he doesn't have vengeances, and this is our shot. This is our chance right here. If he doesn't have the vengeance, then we can outright win the game. If he does have it, we lose. But definitely taking our chance to win. Not even thinking twice. Got the vengeance. It's okay. But there's definitely lots of these Heimerdinger Jace decks that don't play Vengeance or don't play the full set of Vengeances, and that's such a good feeling right there. I know we didn't actually win the game, but to be in the spot to where the opponent has to specifically have the one removal spell they may not be playing 3 copies of, or we just outright win a game we have absolutely no business winning. That feels really good. I love taking. I don't love taking a loss, I guess, but that's a definitely feel good loss right there. Okay, next battle up against Teemo Caitlyn. Pretty reasonable start. Definitely good to have the Ruthless Raiders in these openers if you're able to soak up some of the flashbang traps with Tough. Gonna look to be getting these on the board. Do we really care that much about the stats from Omen Hawk? This is actually like a pretty tough opener that I'm not certain about, in the sense that Crimson Pigeon is the highest damage option that we have. The Omen Hawk does less damage, but those +1/+1s can be quite important. I think that we'll go for the damage route here. It's just our early game package is so strong. It is nice to get those bonus stats off of the Omen Hawk, but I think we want to put the opponent on the back foot as much as possible. So he goes Peacemaker. It's okay. Get the Crimson Pigeon in. We can still look to drop Ruthless Raider and a friend next turn.
Well, what have we here?
All right. Don't have any takedowns for the Caitlyn, unfortunately. I'll play the Omen Hawk here. I don't intend on attacking with it next turn. I don't want to just slam it into Caitlyn and give her the chance for the free strikes, but if it eats a flashbang trap, that's kind of okay. And then if we get to attack with it a couple turns from now, or put a Bone Club on it a couple turns from now, that's a pretty decent outcome as well. So I'm just going to spend maximum mana on this round. We could get the Ruthless Raider on board. They do have very similar stat lines with the Iron Ballista, but I just want to spend up as much as we can.
Let us take a peek at life beneath the waves.
Get out of here, Omen Hawk. Maybe we do attack with Omen Hawk. I mean, we're like pretty safe against these flashbang traps. I know that it's not super ideal against the Caitlyn, but I think facing down a board like this, he probably has to just go into damage prevent mode, and we'll probably get that point of damage in with the Omen Hawk. Somebody's going down.
Need to miss? Not by a long shot.
All right, and time for the Bone Club. That should be enough to shut down the Caitlyn. With 2 mana, he doesn't have any ways to deal 3 points of damage for the round. Now I'm going to hang on to the Saboteur. We'll have 7 mana on this upcoming turn, and that should let us play the Ruthless Raider plus the Bone Club. All right. Get our mountain of stats down here. It's a little unfortunate to see the Chump Wump turn up, but it's not going to be big enough to kill any of our units on its own. What did you do that for? Why would you play Mushroom Cloud there?
Excuse you.
Okay. Not the worst round. We've got him to 7. Our Ruthless Raider is fully healed at this point. Caitlyn didn't hit any traps. Definitely gotta worry about her flipping on one of these upcoming turns, but
What brings you here?
we do have a pretty healthy life total at this point. It's 2 puff caps in the top and 2 flashbangs. It's gonna flip the Caitlyn, but she can't attack or she'll die. And then the damage from her strike's not enough to kill us. So we can play all of our units at this point. We'll play the Pigeon. I'm going to put the Bone Club onto the Saboteur so that all of our units are big enough to kill Caitlyn. Probably find ourselves next turn just like whirling deathing whatever blocks the Ruthless Raider, but I like having the 4/4 Pigeon. You can just put Karina in front of it, sure thing, but I think it's more important to spread out the attack power here.
Everything's in place.
Drew a Darken.
Behind ya.
It's not a terrible place for it. Like a card like Wallop is really painful here, but I don't want to give him the chance to play more dumb shit like Karina to potentially come in and pop our board. Maybe if it's a Wallop, he'll put the Wallop on our 4/4. Just an irrelevant one. Sounds good to me. Hi, GG. Good stuff. That's interesting. In that spot where we're playing the Darkened Ballista, I see a lot of people play Shared Spoils. And to me, the thing with Shared Spoils is, number one, across the games that we've played, like at what point in any of these 4 games that we've played today have you wanted Shared Spoils, right? It's basically there just as a way to spend mana, but Darkened Ballista is just such a better way to come in and spend mana. And then you have turns like that one, as to where if you really want to come in and just play the 8-drop, then you have the opportunity to do so, where Shared Spoils just doesn't do anything. And so I'm really surprised to see people come in and play cards like that. But what is this? Yuumi Aurelian Soul, but with Freylord. I would imagine it's some kind of ramp deck, right? But it's weird seeing ramp decks want to play Yuumi. And so, interested in what we're about to do battle with here.
The wiser. They'll never boom.
So with that opener, we could have gotten rid of the Ballista to look for a 2-drop, but I think our hand was reasonable enough here. Now Tayari. What is going on today? I usually don't recommend making these blocks, but I also want to play Darkened Ballista. Maybe we should just save the Ballista for next turn. I don't know. We miss out on the point of damage like this, but he does have a combat trick. Wow. Not what I was expecting. Okay. Well, it's not the end of the world. It would have felt a little safer with this Tayari gone, but the extent of what he does is just block another Saboteur this turn, I guess that's okay. Is he going to play Yuumi here? That seems pretty awesome for us, right? Okay, let's make our dudes big. Says, uh-oh. That is a large amount of damage coming directly at my face place.
No, please.
Right. And the Bone Club. As I was like looking at this hand, it's pretty obvious that we're just going to play Gnar at this point. But it's like I start to think, and it's like, what's going to go wrong on these upcoming turns? Can we really come in and just play Bone Club? And the thing that would strike me as being painful here would be like a Celestial Stun, whatever that thing is called. And I think I'm just willing to risk it, right? And so it's like, if he's got it, we're either just not dealing any damage anyways, and then adding the Bone Club is okay. And then if he does have it, we're going to... or if he doesn't have it, then we're just going to have the Giant Attacker in Gnar. And so I think it feels pretty decent across the board. Okay. So strange to me. Why is this deck playing Aurelion Soul? But alright, we didn't deal any combat damage, but our little friend, our Legion Saboteur, came through for that single point of damage. Got the Gnar flip for us. Good deal. Look at all them stats. They use a big boy today, Gnar. Got that Bone Club. Ooh, another Bone Club. All right, we'll bring it. No, not probably not going to be getting the lethal on this next turn, but we could potentially be close. Opponent says, "Nah, that's too much, dude." As I say, you can be in a spot to where we stun whatever's in front of Gnar, so we get in for the full 10, and then throw in the Pokey Stick, and then draw a Pokey Stick off of his strike. It's just that's a very dangerous. No, we wouldn't get a fresh Pokey Stick because he was on the Mega Gnar side, but. I'm gonna say that, assuming that kind of play would have worked, it was just a very, very all-in thing to be doing. Just gets blown up by a stun. When we're in a spot where it just feels like we're really in a place to win the game anyways. All right, so Karma Set turns up. The thing I wanted to say about Karma Set is the idea and the thing I'm kind of brewing for the best of 3 lineup is I still like this idea of playing triple Freylord, or not necessarily Freylord if you're playing the Cultist package. And so the thing I'm kind of thinking of in terms of decks to bring is I'm still wanting to play Jarvan Udyr. I love that deck so much I don't feel like I can get rid of it. And then I'm looking to play the Bone Club deck, and then play Samira Varus so that we have access to the Cultist Flash Freeze, the double Flash Freeze, the equipped Flash Freeze, whatever that thing is called, as a means to still have that game against the OTK decks. And I kind of like that setup in the sense that I don't like bringing lineups like you could think to bring something like Alawi and Varus and Pantheon, and so you have these really separate sets of big bruiser OTK style decks, and I don't like that. I like bringing 1, but I don't like bringing 3, and I feel like with a lineup in that way, you have a nice variety of a nice variety of strategies that you're bringing forth. So with this turn, this is kind of interesting. This is the turn he wants to play the 3-4, and I think he's probably got it since he didn't play anything last turn. We have a pretty decent Iron Ballista that can get out in front of that, though. This is probably enough to risk it. So we'll play the Ballista. He's probably going to play his 3-4 heal thing here, and then we can still punch in a bunch of damage, and if he wants to take a value block on one of our units, then we get to still get to punch in some extra damage. Pretty good Caustic Riff. Pretty good. That's alright, we'll still just get him with the Battle Fury, right? But no, with the where that kind of concept was going with those deck mentions is we look to just ban deep. I don't think I ever want to be playing against deep. And then if a deck like Karma Set shows up in a lineup that doesn't have deep in it, then we can just ban out Karma Set. I just don't feel like Karma Set is quite good enough to want to be a main ban. It's kind of like a secondary or a third ban. All right, well, I think I'm going to continue on with another Ballista. We do have some decent spells in hand, but it doesn't feel quite good enough. I feel like we're going to get a decent Whirling Death out of one of these attacks. It's very frightening to go up against this deck with concussive bombs and tagouts and really counting on Battle Fury to do something. You need to try and drain them out of mana before you bring in the big boom. But this is a good Whirling Death. I'd also kind of ready for this Crimson Pigeon to die. I'd like the Darkened Ballista to come back to hand at some point if we can, so that we can get the Naganika on board.
I like a challenge.
Let's see what happens. I thought he was going to play another spell here, but he is short of tag out mana at this point. Let's just bring in the Whirling Death. These blocks actually lined up kind of nicely in the sense that we get to take down a blocker in front of an Overwhelm, and then we also get to bring the Naganika back to hand. We are at an awkward mana position for it, right? If we want to play it on turn 8, then we can't play Battle Fury, but we'll just have to kind of work with that. We're about to get denied. Okay.
Thank you.
Got one unit, a lone friend on board. Maybe we end up Battle Furying this turn. Like if he plays Set and tries to hook the Iron Ballista, we just play Battle Fury. I mean, that's probably about as good as it's going to get. Alright, well. Not awesome, but it is what it is, you know. Better than the shared spoils, that's that's for certain. That's for certain. It's just very likely to get hit with a stun or a tag out. Yeah. But again, as we hopefully roll into our next attack token, we can present lethal, right? If he doesn't have an answer to this attack, next turn we get to play the Naganika and the Omen Hawk, and then on our follow-up attack token, we did get him to that magical 9 health, which means you can Battle Fury the Omen Hawk and and potentially get a kill. And so we'll see how much that plays out. He really wants to be dropping Karma right now, and she's not super safe when we have the ballistas in play. If we get Naganika on board, then they just fight Karma at the end of the turn. If he passes, do we ever just pass here? It's so tempting. I don't think we can do it. Like, even if we end up in, like, the worst-case scenario here where he plays Karma and plays Tag Out, like, I don't think that we can, like, realistically go into the next turn and feel safe, right? If our, like, big concern and worry is opponent having Tag Out, and then we're trying to push into a turn to where we want to Battle Fury and Omen Hawk, then just having the Omen Hawk get tagged out isn't going to be a winning play. And so, like, the thing that would have been bad here is if he, like, followed up with Set. Ooh, we might have just won this game. Might have just won. He's only got 3 mana behind. The Naganika's going to fight the Clockling. We might as well be playing this one, right? Or playing this Ballista to be more clear. Like, the only spell we're realistically playing next turn is Battle Fury. We're never going to say, like, draw a unit and play it and then give him an opportunity to play Karma on turn 10. Never doing that. Uh-oh. Forget about the coins sometimes, though. Oh, no. Is he going to hit us with the... Is he going to hit us with the Set now? That would be a disaster. That would be a disaster. There's the tag out, though. Okay. I don't know. Doesn't feel good. It's kind of bittersweet seeing the unit go away. We'll try the Battle Fury onto the Omen Hawk, and if well, does it really matter if he gets that karma down here? Probably does. If he has another card draw thing, then we're going to be in a bind. Oh, shit, we aren't even lethal, though? He can just take this damage. Uh-oh. All right, this isn't good. This is not good. All right, GG. A little bit too slow in that one. Certainly not a positive matchup, but you need to be in much more of a place to get them to spend mana. All right, next battle. And the Tristana deck again. This time we're up against the Bilgewater flavor. The one before was the Demacia flavor. Seeing the units like Legion, Saboteur, and Omen Hawk are certainly less impressive against this one. But alright, still going to lead off with the Legion Saboteur. There is a chance they don't have a 1-drop. They don't have tons of 1-drops in these decks. It's Teemo and then just usually it. So feel like we should be able to safely get the damage in before our 1-drops really fall off from being any good. But not terrible here. I don't think it's quite worth opening. We're gonna we have to worry about the next thing that he plays is probably immediately gonna be Hungry Owlcat. I feel like with the Iron Ballista, it should be the one to just come down. I was looking to play, say, a Ruthless Raider and a Darken Ballista, but then he just has the Hungry Owlcat able to jump directly in front of them. So an Owlcat play now in front of a Ruthless Raider isn't nearly as good. And that's especially if he wants to, say, to block 2 of our units. He only gets 1 play here. That should push his units down in front of the Legion Saboteur. And so I think this is okay. And we can spew off the rest of our cards next turn. One thing I didn't point out before that can be quite important in these matchups is Gnar actually flipping into Wallop. And so as we run into these spaces to where, interesting, he pie tosses, to where opponents can have like a 16 attack Tristana, then having access to that Wallop on top of the Three Sisters and on top of the decisive maneuvers is kind of interesting. Very greedy line from the opponent here. I would not be surprised if we're able to close this out with a Battle Fury 2 attacks from now. I don't think we won't be anywhere near close enough to win the game on the next attack, but he took a very greedy angle here. Like you could definitely see on that previous turn, he could have blocked our Legion Saboteur with the Bandle Commando and played the Hungry Owlcat to block the Ruthless Raider, get those 2 units off of the board. But now he's left the Ruthless Raider around, ready to come in and deal some more damage. And so this isn't like that last game against Tristana as to where our next attack is the critical turn. Our next attack is the one where we have to win. And so we're going to have a lot of opportunity here, I think. So let's see what he does. He's definitely going to be filling out his board. And again, this is the big thing I'm talking about with this deck strategy. They're going to have 6 units on the board. There's nothing we can do about this. And so, if you want to think of each of our units as just being like a 7/7, but not having overwhelm, then he's going to be able to come in and still deal a ton of damage on these attacks. But with the way that this is shaped out, he's not going to be able to... we should still be able to punch in some damage here. But with this, I know he's got the Perilous Pastry in hand. I'm pretty okay with him both losing the Bandle City Mayor when he's got all of these multi-faction units in his hand, and then also having the Perilous Pastry come in and hit our smaller unit. No problems whatsoever there. This is kind of an interesting attack. I think, since we're in this space, we're just going to have to win the game with Battle Fury. I think we can just swing with everybody. We're gonna get to punch in enough damage. This is a bit unfortunate. We're gonna have to kill off something just to ensure we have an overwhelm next turn. I was wanting to have the Whirling Death for opponent's next turn, right? It should be easy enough for them to come in and fill out the board. But we do at least get the Whirling Death onto this elusive unit. We might be able to block some of this other stuff. Get him to 2.
Scouts wear helmets. Gunners carry guns.
So Tristana's definitely gonna flip, right? He's got two Fae in his hand. It's gonna be a matter of if we can survive through this next turn. Maybe I was wrong about that being our critical turn, and we should have gotten the Darkened Ballista on board. I just had in my headpiece that we were going to be able to survive to another round. Doesn't look to be the case now. I think we're just dead. Not certain how we could have. Yeah, we're just going to be dead. He's going to have another unit. Oh, he's even got the scout rake for Tristana. So yeah, that's my bet. I don't think we would have been able to present the lethal on that turn. Like, I know that we had the Darkened Ballista in hand, and then the opponent died at 2. I think the problem there, though, was not recognizing that we weren't going to win. We could have just chosen to not attack. That might have been good. The more I think on that, the more I think I actually like it. It's like, if we're definitely on this game plan of winning the game with a big Battle Fury, us attacking and not getting the kill really just plays into the opposing strategy. I think we should have recognized that we weren't going to win the game there. Just saved all of our units, right? Because that's the spot to where the limiting factor for the opponent is that they only get to put 6 units on the board. And as we clear out 3 units and then they just immediately fill back out to 6 while we don't have anything to put down, it's just the pure disaster right there. And so I think we definitely had a game plan error with that one. That would have also let us hang on to the Whirling Death for Tristana. I still don't really like the idea of the Scout Elusive on the board, but the Scout Elusive probably wouldn't have been enough to kill us. So, good to think about. Good to think about.
Remember, we're the ones who make progress happen. Need clearance, pal.
All right, we'll come in and take the trade. Get the unit off of the board. Continue with our aggressions here. We're getting everybody on board. Gonna drop a unit. Excuse me, is he gonna drop a unit? It's a spot to where I think I'm a little bit more afraid of him playing an assembly line. Love seeing Reggie come down. He dies to all of our units, and he can't play a 6-cost spell next turn. So that looks pretty good. Get the Ruthless Raider on board. Next turn, we have access to all of these 3-drops, and then not blocking. Or not all of these 3-drops, these 3 1-drops.
I have my orders.
Safe and sound, just like I promised.
So we'll end up... He can get some good blocks, right? He can put the 2-1 Reggie in front of a 2-health Pigeon and then put the Forge Worker in front of the Legion Saboteur, but I'm still happy to come in and swing with everybody. Get a pretty healthy chunk of damage in. Interesting. He leaves up the Pigeons. It doesn't feel like he has a Shock Blast, and he can't cast it for a million turns, and so that's kind of interesting to see him leave our better units up. I think he's just had an all-around pretty weird draw. So I'm going to drop in Gnar, and then I'm going to go ahead and Bone Club. I don't really want to... it's like, if he has a Vengeance, that's all he's doing for the turn, right? He's just playing Vengeance and then being done. I know he gets the 3 mana back from the Forge, but he shouldn't really be adding to the board. But if kind of the flip side, we attack and deal 6 or 7 damage, and then he has a shock blast after, or we attack and then he still has the vengeance in the middle of combat, we're kind of dunzos at that point, and so I don't like how that lines up. So the vengeance here would be a bit unfortunate, but I think this is again definitely a better place to not be open attacking. Right, a 3 sisters. A little tough with the mana. It's like one of these spots to where we'd like to find a small unit so we can load it up with the Bone Club. But we definitely want to be spending all of our mana this turn. I guess we could technically just play Iron Ballista and 3 bank into next turn, but that seems kind of tough. Like, we're definitely going to be getting Darius on board. But it's like, as soon as Darius hits the board, you start to throw up the all hands on deck, the immediately slam on the brakes, right? Because you know that big slam's about to come through. But I think I want to spend all this mana. It just seems to work out so much better if we pick up a 2-drop, or even if we pick up another 3-drop, and then we're able to play the Iron Ballista next turn. But this is fine, never blocking, not going to lose our Darius to an Aftershock or to a Shock Blast or something. We'll keep him on board. There's the Shock Blast. Oh my gosh, is he going to have a second one? Like, if we play the Ruthless Raider and then he has a Shock Blast, it's just a pure disaster. But I think the thing we have to ask ourselves is, would he ever not Shock Blast there, right? And I don't think he does. With the Forge Worker on board, it's just so easy for us to not have another play. And his Forge Worker is lined up to be able to kill Darius. And so I just don't think, even though we are in this spot to where if he has the second Shock Blast, I just don't think we can give up on it. Okay. So Darius still eats a vengeance. Not that great, but at least we have the Bone Club here, right? So every unit that we draw is a real unit and a legitimate threat. You can be this giant Legion Saboteur running around. He knows we have the club, and so he'll start. Oh, he does just start spewing removal. That's interesting. It's so much harder of a unit to kill now when all of your removal is damage based. I guess you can get it with a, well, Hex Obliterator is good enough to get it as well. Hex Obliterator is kind of scary here, but definitely more challenging to kill this guy. Dang. Dang, I say. Not good. Gonna have to protect our guy from Aftershock, right? We don't have anything else to do. It's just such a disaster to get out of these turns without having a unit on board. But you're still real Legion Saboteur. You got all the stats. You're ready to Whirling Death down a Jace if that's what's coming up. Just gonna take you a million turns to end this game. This is painful. Like the thought I had running through my head is like, do I feel like we're really running enough late game in this deck? And I think we are. Like I could definitely see like an argument for like maybe playing Captain Farron in place of Mammoth Shaman just to have that gigantic way to generate that late game value as we get into these kind of grindier matchups, but I think this is it's just the kind of the way the cookies crumbled here, and it's like I definitely feel good as we're out here playing Dark and Ballistas with this stuff. Gives us that opportunity for a lot more big damage. Now with this, I was getting chatty, and I'm not entirely certain how I feel about this play. I think we most certainly have to protect our Legion Saboteur. But as we're like coming in and trying to close out this game, the reason I thought to use the +3/+4 is it leaves our Saboteur with more health, right? So it's going to have more opportunities to come in and attack. You know, it's supremely important to have this unit on board since it's carrying our Bone Club. But interesting, he doesn't take down the Bone Club. I'm curious if the Whirling Death wasn't a better option, given that we're really trying to close out this game and we sacrificed our ability to do combat damage there. All right, well, let's keep up the grind, I guess. The Legion Saboteur refuses to die. Okay, he's finally got him. I like seeing the Albus Pharos get removed from there. Albus Pharos, he would have come in and nugged us for like 11 off a single attack. Uh-oh. These aren't units. Oh. Savage. I was like, this feels like a decent spot for us with opponent only having one card in hand and us having a Bone Club. But man, if he's going to start churning through these augmented clocklings, that's a, oh my gosh, that's a pure disaster right there. Whew. So much value. All right, let's get the Darken down. Load you up with the old Bone Club. That's what the Darken life is all about. It's gonna be production surge. Ah, vengeance. Okay, GG. And so not bad, not bad. It's like as I was kind of thinking about that game in terms of, you know, do we really need more value? And if you want to stop and think about that one, opponent managed to play 4. Right, they played 4 Pharos Fanciers, in addition to the card draw that they get off of their improvises, and so I think that leaves me in a spot where I'm just kind of like no, right, in the sense that he drew like 4 6+ cost cards and then drew some extra cards along the way, and then we still got ourselves down to a point in the game to where we had 1 card to his 1 card, and that's a spot that that's what Heimerdinger Jace wants to be doing, right? They definitely want to be grinding to that point. I don't want to elude that I feel like we were on even footing as we got to that turn to where we both had nothing on board and 1 card in hand, but I think that's actually like a really telling sign in that match as to where we were able to grind it down so hard and not be completely failing. Now, there is the argument to say we probably lost that game like 7 turns before it happened, but we're still in that kind of space to where the games that are not like clear wins for us, the games that are going wrong for us are still going pretty okay. And I think that's a pretty good spot for this deck. Again, I'm not really looking at this thing as being a ladder grinder, something you just queue up and crash into the ladder and have a great amount of success with. I'm really thinking of this deck in terms of best of 3. And I liked how it held up against Tristana. That felt like the pretty good match. And one of the things I really kind of look for in these best of 3 decks is if we're looking to say ban deep, how bad are we against the rest, right? If we're looking to play against a triple control lineup of someone that wants to bring, a back alley Bard deck and Karma Set and then bring deep, how bad are those matchups if we have to face it against with something like this? And those all certainly felt winnable. I felt like the Karma Set matchup was winnable. I felt like the Heimerdinger Jace matchup was winnable, and they definitely weren't out of reach. And so it's not like we're playing decks like Karma Ash Ash LeBlanc that just get completely murdered by this stuff, and it's got a lot of reach to it, and I feel like a lot of that reach that we're getting is coming from the Darkened Ballista. I really liked and appreciated the things that it was able to do here, and I think it's a definite mistake to not bring this deck forward. And so good stuff. And so again, I'm a little undecided. I think I do probably want 3 Darkened Ballistas and 2 Bone Clubs. I think I would be a little bit happier with that. Just you do run the risk of Bone Club being dead quite often, and you don't really want to be drawing 2 that often. And so I think it's something that certainly belongs in the deck, but it's not something I'm quite willing to get rid of. And then I think I like turning Mammoth Shaman into Captain Farron. I know Mammoth Shaman is a lot cheaper, and we aren't really looking to have the games grind on that long, but that ability to come in and generate those decimates while still having a gigantic unit is pretty powerful and strong. And it's something I feel like we probably want access to as a one-of. It feels like Mammoth Shaman is an extension of what the deck is already doing well, as to where Captain Farron is on theme, but he provides a little bit different of an angle in that big late game that he has. And so I would want to try him out as well. But otherwise, good stuff. Pretty happy with this. I had fun. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bustin' Me. Thank you for being here.